One time there was this professor traveling around the country giving speeches. Oh, he had all kinds of degrees, doctorates, and all that type of thing. He was a graduate of the School of Mines, psychology and philosophy and all that. And he had a chauffeur that drove around for him. They was driving down the highway there one day, and this chauffeur said, well, life's just not fair. Said, you're just barely paying me really nothing to drive you around, and you're making all kinds of money giving these speeches. And he said, I can give that speech just as good as you can. I've got that memorized, and I can do this as good as you can. So this professor said, okay, we'll just see if you can. Said, we're going to a major university up here. I'll tell you what, I'll dress as you, the chauffeur, and you dress as me, as the professor. So they pulled up this school in a big auditorium, and it was just packed, man. It was just full. And so in they walked, and the professor, who's acting like the chauffeur, he sat back there in the back, and the chauffeur that was dressed like the professor, they introduced him, and he come out on stage there. And oh man, they just clapped, gave an ovation there. And this chauffeur, remember, dressed as a professor, man, he laid out that speech. Boy, he was good. He said when he finished, man, they gave him a standing ovation. Clapped and yelled, boy, and wallowed in the floor and everything. Well, the president of the college stepped out, and he said, we've got about 10 more minutes till the bell. Do any of you students have a question for this professor? And about halfway back there, a fellow stood up, you know, a real geek-type person, had them big horn-rimmed glasses on, books under both arms, and had that pen up there in his shirt pocket with some pads of paper. And he said, Mr. Professor, suppose there's an oil drilling crew out there on a wildcat adventure, and they drill down, and they drill through the carcass of one of these dinosaurs that lived 100 million years ago. The question is, how deep would they have drilled to go through that carcass? How old was the dinosaur when it died, and what would the pH of the soil be? Now that professor, remember, he's the chauffeur, he just looked at him. Boy, he got quiet in there. I mean, you could have heard a pin drop. And so this professor said, Mr. Student, that is the dumbest, silliest question I have ever heard. Just to show you how easy that answer is, my chauffeur's sitting in the back of the room. I'm going to let him stand and tell you the answer to that.
And the chauffeur was the scientist?
Yeah, he was the professor. See, that's where the smartness comes in. You know, the questions they ask you. He might have knew the speech as well. Oh, I left out a part of it. When he said, Mr. Student, he said, I'm surprised they'd let a fellow like you into a fine university like this. Somebody that don't know no more than you do. Just to show you how easy that answer is. My chauffeur's sitting in the back of the room. I'm going to have him stand and tell you the answer.
Well, there's some more fun time with Grandpa. Those stories.
Ow. 5 forks in the back of Uncle Percy's hand.
We haven't even got finished making this video, and you're already starting to tell another story. Man, it's dark. I'm probably gonna go inside.
Yeah.
Well, that's another story by Grandpa in reference to Jerry Clower. Bye.
Need to get Ashley.
Boop.